just this week. You're not going to see it on any of the network news. You're not going to see it in the Los Angeles Times or read it in the New York Times or the Washington Post. The stock market hit 23,100 this year.
Yeah.
18,000. It was 18,000 when Donald Trump was elected. We have created $5.5 trillion with a T, $5.5 trillion since the day Donald Trump was elected president. That's pretty amazing. And that has happened, folks. We haven't even passed the tax cut yet. When we get this tax cut passed, and we are going to pass this, I was with Donald Trump earlier this week. He said, Steve, we're going to get this tax cut passed, and I'm going to sign it into law on Christmas Eve. It's the best Christmas present we're going to have since Ronald Reagan delivered the tax cut. The other statistic, I mean, just a blizzard of statistics that are pointing north. All of the statistics on the economy are pointing north. Did you see what happened this week with the unemployment insurance claims? The lowest number of new people filing for unemployment in 40 years. 40 years. I have to confess, probably most of you, have seen me on Fox News. I was a Fox News contributor for 5 years. I did the Judge's Show all the time. I loved, what a great asset she is to our country, isn't she? But I got to confess, I am now with fake news. I'm with CNN, and CNN. Every time I recite these statistics about the economy, the only thing liberals can say, is that's the Obama effect. That's the Obama effect. So you know what I said the other night on CNN? I said, you are right. This is the Obama effect. It's the effect that Obama is not president anymore. That's right. So let me just run you. I want to give you a little economics lesson. I've got 15 or 20 minutes. I want to run you through some of the things we have to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about California because I love this great state, but I think the problem is most of you know this, but I think most people in California have no idea how much trouble you're in. So let me start with this. Here is why Donald Trump was elected. You look at that black line at the bottom. That's the pace of growth of the economy in the so-called recovery under Barack Obama. So the economy, it was a long recovery, but it's been an incredibly shallow recovery. The economy grew 15%, or less than a 2% rate of growth over that 7-year period of growth. The light blue line is the average recovery. How much does the economy grow on average? Because we've had 8 recessions since the end of World War II. The economy has grown by about 29%, or about twice as fast as the economy grew under Obama. And then look at the red line. That's what happened under the Gipper. That's the Reagan recovery, 36%. So the economy grew 2.5 times faster every year under Ronald Reagan than Barack Obama. Now, this is a nice little economics lesson because you probably couldn't find 2 presidents who had more diametrically opposite vision, right, than Ronald Reagan and Barack Obama of how to fix the economy. How many in this room are old enough to remember 20% mortgage interest rates? Remember that? And 15% inflation. The economy was going to hell under Reagan. And Reagan, what was his philosophy? I was privileged enough in 1986 and 87 and 88 to work for the Gipper. His philosophy was cut taxes, cut regulations, get inflation under control by pulling them back on the money supply. In one sentence, remember what Reagan used to say? Remember that famous debate he had with Jimmy Carter? Government is not the solution. Government is the problem. And I'll tell you somebody who believes that today. It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump believes every word of that. Obama came in with look at what we lived through under Obama. First, we had the massive tax. By the way, I know we're Republicans, got to say, I don't think George W. Bush's last 2 years in office were very good. And we should have never bailed out the banks.
No bailouts. Yes.
Again, as Republicans,
no.
should we ever bail out a business?
Never.
Or a bank or an insurance company? Bailouts are something liberals do. We don't do that. But Obama gave us
bailouts for big corporations.
Remember the massive stimulus bill with all the shovel-ready projects? Where are they? We increased the national debt by $9 trillion in 8 years. We had the tax increases on the rich. We had the minimum wage increases. Every single idea the liberals had, they threw at us in the Obama years. And look what it got us. If we had the economy grow as fast under Barack Obama as it did under Ronald Reagan, the U.S. economy would be $3 trillion larger today. $3 trillion. Now, we always talk about billions, trillions. People can't figure that. Those numbers are so large, they're mind-numbing. But here's a way to think about that. If we had a Reagan expansion, it would be like adding another Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan to the U.S. economy. That's what's missing, and that's why Americans were so angry. By the way, it's been 15 years since the average American got a pay raise, and we're going to correct that, I guarantee you, with the tax cut. So let me show you the next thing. This is why we have to do the tax cut. I'm 24/7 on this. I helped write the plan with you all know my buddy Larry Kudlow, right? You raise your hand if you know Larry. He's such a national asset. Well, Larry and I did the tax plan for Trump. This is showing you why we have to do the tax cut. The liberals are saying we can't afford a tax cut right now. That's nonsense. We can't afford not to do the tax cut. And here is why. What you're looking at, that red line, is our national debt as its share of GDP. That's the best way to measure the debt. How big is the debt as relative to our economy? Now, here's what's scary. Look at the projected line, that red line that goes straight up. That is what the Congressional Budget Office is saying is going to happen to our debt if we stay on the course we're on, if we don't change policy. So that's what they call sort of the current services. By the way, they're projecting that the U.S. economy over the next 20 years will grow at 1.8%.
Yeah.
Hell no! This is America. We're not going to grow at 1.8%. We can't accept that. We're going to grow at 3.5%, or 4%. And incidentally, the U.S. economy, I remember when I put this out, people were saying, because Trump was saying during the campaign, we're going to get to 3 to 4%. And all the economists, the liberal economists, say, that's impossible. Donald Trump is lying to you. The economy can't grow faster than 3%. How could it? Because under Barack Obama, it only grew at 2%. Right? Guess what? The economy already is growing at 3%. It grew 3.1% in the second quarter. It would have grown at 3% in the third quarter, except we had the hurricanes, which brought down growth levels. We're already growing at 3%. So all I did was I took the projections. I said, what happens if instead of the economy growing at 1.8%, we get this economy to 3%, which is below what I think we could do. I think we can do 3.5 to 4. But let's be modest here and say we get the economy growing at 3% under Trump policies. Look at what happens. The debt as a share of GDP comes down every year. It doesn't go up. If we stay on the course we're on without the Trump tax cuts, what you're looking at there by the year 2025 or 30 or so is Greece, Detroit, Puerto Rico, and California, right? We can't go in that direction. So growth is the key. If we grow the economy, these problems will be solved. Next, I just wanted to show you this. I love this chart. This is what a bull market expansion looks like. And if you look at this, you know, the blue line is just the S&P 500. You know, you can see what happened in the 70s. You know, it was a terrible period. And look what happens. I mean, the clouds dispersed, the sun came out, and God gave America Ronald Reagan, right? And look at what happened to the stock market from 81 to the year 2000, the biggest bull market expansion ever. We created $35 trillion of new wealth over that period. That's what a bull market looks like. And what I'm here to tell you today, we put Donald Trump's policies in place. We're going to get another one of those. We're going to get another one, and you've seen already the first 9 months of that. So that's what we need. We haven't had it in a while. People are saying, oh, the stock market's run out of gas. Nonsense. We haven't seen anything yet. We're looking at Dow 30,000 if Trump gets his tax cut. Oh. Now, let me just talk about a couple other issues before I talk about the tax cut. Energy. You know, I am so frustrated with your politicians here in Sacramento. You have more energy resources than any state in the country, maybe with the exception of Texas. You have more oil, more gas, you have an amazing amount of energy. The fact, and what these dingwits in California say you're going to be fossil fuel free by the year 2030 or 40, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I mean, really, that is the dumbest thing. What, are you going to run your cars with windmills or something like that? I mean, who are these people?
We're not going to have cars.
While you have not been producing your energy here in California, look at what's happening in the rest of the country. Look at, if it had not been for the shale oil and gas revolution, folks, we would not have gotten out of the recession under Obama, because his policy. Look at what happened to the boom in energy production. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but to simply say, Donald Trump has basically bought into this full time. We have more energy. We have more energy than any other country in the world. If we get this right, and we promote, and by the way, if we promote American oil, gas, and coal, I live in Virginia, we're a coal-producing state. We have 500 years worth of coal in this country. Coal is, this country was built on coal. right? The war on coal was ended when Donald Trump was elected. And thank God, because I went to a lot of these coal mining towns where they destroyed it. And then the oil and gas. Look at the oil and gas production. Look at the green line. That's renewable energy. Now, look, I'm not against wind and solar power. I'm not against it. I just don't want the government subsidizing it. We put $150 billion into wind and solar. Here's an amazing statistic. In the first 6 months since Donald Trump was elected, from January 1, 2017 through the end of July, anybody want to take a guess at what the #1 source of electricity production was? Coal. Coal. I thought coal was a dying industry. Remember? They said, oh, Trump is lying. You can't rebuild the coal industry. That's happening right now thanks to his deregulation policy. But even more surprising, anybody want to take a guess at what share of our electricity production today comes from wind and solar power?
2%?
Who said 2%?
Right here, 2.
Sir, you're way outdated. We're up to 3%.
Oh.
3%? What are we talking about? And you're going to go to 100% by the year 2040? It's complete nonsense. We are going to be, under Donald Trump, the new Saudi Arabia.
Gina, you don't like the Trump's tax cuts. Don't blame Trump for that. Blame California for that.
I love to show this chart. I show this to students all the time, but I thought you might enjoy seeing it too. I just went to Seoul, South Korea for the first time.
North Korea is
6
carbon
months ago.
free.
How many of you have seen this chart before? Raise your hand. A lot of you probably have. If you haven't, this is pretty amazing. So this is a satellite photo of Korea at night with the white spots being in the lights. Look at North Korea at night. Look at that. You want to see what happens when you have Bernie Sanders economics? Look at North Korea, right? Look at North Korea.
Yep.
By the way, that one little dot of light, that's Kim Il-jung's castle. The rest of the country is dark. And then look at just an artificial line. There's no, I mean, Seoul is only 30 miles from the North Korea border. It's just an artificial line in the sand, right? But look at South Korea is all lit up like a Christmas tree. North Korea is in the dark. Does this show you the power of free market capitalism or what? We want to be more like South Korea and the United States, not North Korea and Cuba. All right. I know, I love the state of California. Let me just say this. Seriously, I love your state. You have the most beautiful mountains, beautiful beaches, beautiful weather, and beautiful women of any state in the country. You do. I mean, so I'm going to say that at the outset. But my God, the way the politicians are destroying the state is heartbreaking. It truly is heartbreaking. You know that. That's why you're here today, right? To rebuild this great state.
Make California great
again.
So,
I thought just one easy way to show you how much trouble you're in is to just show the 4 biggest states in the country. California, Texas, New York, and
California, New York.
2 of those states are red states. Florida and Texas doesn't get more redder than Texas, right? And 2 of them, your state and New York, are blue, about as dark blue states as you can get. Can anybody in this room tell me what the income tax rate is in Texas and Florida?
0.
New York and California are somewhere around 13 to 13.5%.
Too high.
So this isn't too complicated, right? I mean, I know you guys understand this. It's just the Dianne Feinsteins and so on and the Nancy Pelosi's just don't get this because their trade tables aren't in the upright and locked position. Now, look, if you have a very high tax state up here, location A has a high tax rate and location B has a low tax rate, what happens over time? People move from A to B, right? This isn't complicated, right? This isn't too complicated. I'm not going over your head here. So look at what's happened. This is the migration. This does not count international immigration. It's just where are American citizens moving to and from. Texas and Florida in the last 10 years have gained 1 million net people. Look at this. New York lost 1.4 million people. California lost, what is that? 1 million people in the last 10 years. 1 million people. How the heck did that happen? I was debating Paul Krugman. Any of you know who Paul Krugman is? A swing economist.
Unfortunately.
Probably the most influential liberal economist in the country. And I showed him this chart and I said, explain this to me, Paul. Because, Texas and Florida do all the right things. They have low taxes. They have light regulation. Oh, by the way, the other thing we need to do to turn this state around right now is make California the 27th right-to-work state.
Yes.
This would make a massive difference. You're going to see jobs coming back. Right to work is not anti-union. Donald Trump won a lot of the union vote. I'm not against unions, but I'm against, and you, everyone in this room and everyone in this state should be against an American who has the right of first association, the First Amendment, to be forced to join a union against their will, right? You should never be forced to join a union against their will if you don't want to. Texas and Florida, right to work. New York and California are forced union states. Look at the difference there. So I said to Paul Krugman, explain yourself, because New York and California do exactly what Paul Krugman advises. And he looked at this and he said, well, Steve, there's a very good reason why the people are moving from, you know, some of these states like New York and California to states like Texas and Florida. He said it's because of the weather. The weather. So I just zinged him. I hit him so hard right beneath. I said, you know, Paul, I don't write twice a week for the New York Times, and I don't have a Nobel Prize in economics, and I don't teach at MIT, and I know you think I have a pea-sized brain, but with my pea-sized brain, I just can't. Why is it, if this is all true to the weather, why are people leaving San Diego and Orange County for Houston? Nobody does that. He was like, he had no answer to that. I mean, it's because of bad policy.
Right to work means you can't be forced to join a union to get a job at a union.
Great state of California. What I advise to you, number one, become a right to work state. Number two, let's put in a 6% flat tax and really make California dynamo like it used to be. So those are the policies. Now, let me just, does this stuff matter? I just thought just so you could be a little envious. Look at Texas. Look at Texas. If you don't think this stuff matters, the red line is all the states but Texas, and the blue line is the job creation in Texas. From 2000, so you're not even believe this, so you can look it up if you want to. From 2007 to 2013, the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State, created more jobs than the other 49 states combined. And that's telling you the power of free market. What happened?
Come back.
I got to bring that back up because I got two more slides I need to show. So let me shift then to the national picture and talk just a minute about the tax cut. The tax cut is essential. We have not had a tax cut in this country, really, to speak of in 30 years. Our tax burden is killing us. Can you flip to the next one because it seems to be frozen? Who's running this? Nancy Pelosi? Sorry, just kidding. While they're flipping this up, I'll tell you the background. We do an index, Robert Laffer and I, every year of the 50 states, and we look at which states are running in the right direction and which states are running in the wrong direction, and we rank them. And we've done this for 10 years, and every year the state that has come out number one in terms of the best economic forecast has been Utah. There's just something about the Mormons, they get it right. But here is the thing that is really so disappointing. Do you know what your state ranks in terms of economic outlook over the next 10 years?
49?
47 out of 50. The only states you're behind are my home state of Illinois, New York, and Vermont. I mean, so let's make California a high-growth state again. I'm a big believer for you to take back this state
and get
Republicans elected. Let's draw bright, shiny lines between what we believe in and what they believe in. I'm tired of
like
these
no cap
kind
and
of
trade?
Squishy Republicans who try to run Democrats. Free market conservative.
No rhinos, no cap and trade.
And less regulation and pro-energy and right to work, that person will win. So the tax cut, and I'll end with this, and then if we have some time, I'll take 2 or 3 questions from you. The tax cut is the crown jewel of Donald Trump's agenda. Now, he's done, by the way, I got to tell you this. I get to travel all around this great, great country. I love America. It's so awesome to go to California. I go everywhere from California to Maine, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. And when I went to places like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, those Rust Belt states that Trump won, these people felt so passionately. And I would go to Trump. How many of you ever went to a Trump rally? A lot of you did. I mean, they were amazing, weren't they? And every time I'd go to a Trump rally, I would meet bus drivers and school teachers and veterans and motorcycle riders and working, a lot of blacks, a lot of Hispanics, working class people who felt, frankly, that neither party was very attentive to their economic concerns. And that's why Donald Trump, he tapped into something. I'd say, why are you for Trump? And they'd say, because he's going to shake things up in Washington.
Yes.
He's going to rattle the cages. And then, of course, what was Donald Trump's last closing argument in the campaign? Let's say it together. Drain the swamp. And I guarantee you he is in the midst of doing that. And I got to tell you, I always talk to businessmen and women when I'm on the road. I love people who own business. How many in this room own or operate a business? You are the backbone of the American economy. This is what liberals don't get.
Nope.
You cannot be pro-worker and anti-business, right? The Democratic Party today is pro-worker, but they anti-business.
They're not pro-worker.
As my old boss, Dick Armey, used to say, liberals love jobs, but they hate employers. And you can't, that doesn't work. And you've proven
Democratic Party is not pro-worker anymore.
What happened to the charts? I got to show these.
1%.
You're really important.
Politically connected.
So I remember I was in Canton, Ohio, 2 weeks ago. And by the way, when I ask this about women, how's the economy? I get 2-word answer: good or great. Good or great. Business is good or great. And I asked an auto mechanic this question. A guy who owns an auto mechanic store, an auto repair shop. He hires 12, mechanics, and he's got about 6 administrative people. So he hires about 18 people. One of the people is just the backbone of the American economy. I said, Joe, how is business? And he said, Steve, I've got to tell you, it's almost like a light switch was flipped from off to on November 7, 2016.
Yeah.
And that is, I do that all the time. What Donald Trump has done is he has basically, Larry Kudlow says this all the time, I'm stealing this from him. On November 7th, the war against American business was declared over. And that has made such a difference.
Yeah.
The last thing we haven't done is pass this tax law. Now, we're going to do 3 major things. We're going to cut, and this is the heart and soul of the plan, we're going to cut the business tax rate because we want American businesses to succeed. We want them to hire more workers. We want them to pay workers more. I had dinner 2 weeks ago with Fred Smith, one of the great CEOs of America. And Fred Smith, he employs 100,000 people at FedEx, 100,000 people. He has more vehicles and more airplanes than any other institution in the United States other than the U.S. government. And here's what he told me about the tax plan. He said, Steve, if you guys pass that corporate tax cut rate reduction and you get the repatriation done, he said, we will overnight purchase 50 new airplanes and 1,000 new trucks. Wow. Now think about that. These airplanes cost $50 to $100 million each. So think about how many jobs that is. Think about how many jobs there are associated with purchasing, another $2,000 or $5,000 vehicles. Not only the people who have to make the cars, hopefully they'll be made here in the USA, but also the people who drive the trucks and vehicles. So that's the kind of recovery we're looking at. Now, what doesn't work, that's what I wanted to show you. Thank you for bringing that back up. This is where California is. You're just stuck there with these states like Minnesota and Illinois and New Jersey. I'd love to see you get out of that. Now, I'm going to skip this and just... Oh, this is my favorite quote. We have an ad that we're going to show start running pretty soon that highlights this quote from John F. Kennedy. Because remember, John F. Kennedy would be a Republican today if he were president. He would be a Republican today. John F. Kennedy was promoting the biggest tax cut in American history, just as Ronald Reagan was doing and Donald Trump was. And I just want to read you this, imprint this in your mind. And anytime a liberal says this is a tax cut for the rich, just recite this to them. I can recite it without even looking. It is a paradoxical truth that tax rates are too high and tax revenues are too low, and the soundest way to raise the revenues in the long term is to lower the rates now. Is that beautiful? Is that beautiful?
Absolutely.
How many people in Sacramento believe that? 0. And not too many people in Washington either. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to lower the rates and increase the revenues, just as Reagan did. Now, I'm going to stop with this and then take just 2 or 3 questions from you. This is the reason we have to cut our business tax rates. If you look at this, the black line across the board is the U.S. tax rate that we impose on our businesses. We're at 40%. And by the way, it's a little bit higher in California because you have a high business tax here.
Yep.
So the state and local tax is 40% on average in the United States. Those red pillars, we haven't changed that rate in 35 years. The red pillars you're looking at are all the countries that we compete with. Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Canada, China, Mexico, Ireland, all of those countries, we just took the average of their rates. Look at what's going on. I showed this to the Senate Republicans a week or 2 ago. Their jaws dropped. Your jaws should drop when you look at this. The rest of the world for the last 30 years is engaged in Reaganomics, right? They're cutting their tax rates aggressively on their businesses. Now, why are they doing that? To steal jobs and companies and factories from the United States, right?
Like
I mean,
Ireland.
Donald Trump is right. The rest of the world is laughing at us behind our back. We are now at 40%. The rest of the world's at 20%. It is unpatriotic. Dianne Feinstein is against this tax cut. How in the world can she be for a tax cut that will make American businesses competitive again? We're going to take that rate. The original, when we talked with Trump, we wanted it 15%. Now they're talking about 20%. But if you take it to 20%, look at where we'll be. We'll go from worst to one of the first. Worst to one of the first. Just like people are moving out of California and New York for Texas and Florida, you're going to see business. It's going to be like a reverse magnetic pole. Factories, businesses, jobs are coming back to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Maine, and even California. So why would we do this? I mean, this is like a 20% Head Start program for every country that we compete with. It's just insane that we would do this. I did Irish public radio, by the way. Ireland has the lowest corporate tax rate of any country in the world.
That's right.
And I was doing Ireland radio. Have anybody been to Ireland lately? Raise your hand if you've been. If you go to Ireland, I was in Dublin about a year ago. Every other company virtually is an American company that's left the United States and they've gone to Ireland. Why? We're at 40%, they're at 12.5%. Our tax rate is 3 times higher than theirs are. Now, I'm Irish. My grandfather was Irish. I have an Irish heritage. I love Dublin. I love Ireland. But I want jobs in America. I want jobs here in America. Not Mexico City, not in Toronto, not in Beijing. I want them here in America. Right? We should bring our jobs back to the United States. And so that's what this is all about. We're going to go from worst to first. In Ireland, by the way, I did Irish public radio, and they're terrified of Donald Trump. They're terrified that he's going to cut the rate lower and those companies are going to leave. Just like Mexico doesn't want this to happen. I mean, your 2 senators here, Feinstein, who's the other idiot senator you have?
Corrupt Cammy, Kamala Harris.
Basically voting in the interests of Putin and Mexico and all these other countries that we compete with.
They opened the borders,
too. So this is going to bring a lot of jobs, a lot of capital back to the United States. It's already a lot of this is already anticipated in the stock market, right? That's one of the reasons the stock market's risen by 5,500 points since Trump's election. Yeah. I guarantee you, if we get this tax cut done, and you got to tell every one of your Republican and Democrat congressmen and senators to vote for this because it is so essential. Ladies and gentlemen, if we get this done, you are going to see the biggest boom in America we have ever seen since Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump will win a re-election with 40 states. So I said I could take 2 or 3 questions. Anybody want to ask anything about this, and then I'll get off the stage. Any questions?
I'm trying to think what to ask.
Yes, sir. You got to shout it. Tell us about SALT. SALT. Okay, I forgot to mention. So SALT is the deduction of the elimination of the state and local tax. You are able to deduct from your state taxes, from your federal taxes, your state taxes. Now, I'm going to make a case to you, because I know a lot of people in California are very, very concerned about this because you pay so much state taxes. I'm going to tell you those concerns are backwards. California is going to greatly benefit from getting rid of the state and local tax deduction. Now, you're probably thinking, how is that? For 2 reasons. First of all, you're going to pay a lower federal tax, right? Exactly. But second of all, there is no way in hell California can impose a 13.5% income tax if 40% of it is not deductible. So we are at the federal level subsidizing 40% of your taxes in the state. What this will force, and I said this on one of your radio shows here in California, this is going to force one of 2 things. Because we are going to get rid of state and local tax deduction for people who make over $250,000. If you're a middle class person under $250,000, you will not be affected by this. But if you make over $250,000, you will be affected. You're going to lose your deduction of your state and local tax. 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, Sacramento is going to have to dramatically lower the tax rate here in California, which they should have done. years ago, or two, you all got to get out of the state. It's that simple. So I think it's really important we get rid of this. If we do it, we get another $1 trillion of revenues that we can use. This is what Reagan did. You broaden the base of the tax system and you lower the rates, and then that's why I very much. And I'm from Illinois. We're a high-tax state too. The only thing that allows the crappy government you have here in California is 40% is being written off by the federal government. Anything
so
else?
what's going on with? Go ahead.
Sorry, what's going on?
I got to follow up that question right there. You said 250. You said 250. Big over 250. It's going to impact you.
Oh, there you go.
Impact you. It's over 250, but under 250 should be okay. And you don't know we don't know the exact number yet because they're negotiating. But is it a progressive? Is it still going to be a progressive deal where the first 250? Do you understand what I'm saying? Or is it
up to 250, and then it'll be progressive up to that. So, but look. The other thing I forgot to mention, I just want to make clear, you all know this. Raise your hand if you're an employer in this room. If you are every time I met with Donald Trump about this, and we showed him this chart, this very chart, this is what helped him get this. I mean, he instinctively knew it, but he didn't know how bad it was. He would always say, Larry and Steve, yes, you were exactly right. We have got to cut our corporate rate. But he always say this, if we're going to cut the corporate rate, every single small businessman and woman deserve a tax cut too. And so if you're an employer, you are going to get it. Now, if you're a small businessman and woman and you get a 25% reduction in your taxes, raise your hand if you will reinvest that money in the business. Look at that. This money is going to get reinvested, and that's how you make America strong again. By when corporations and small businesses have more money, they can hire more people, they can pay workers more, they can maybe purchase another truck or another computer. That's more workers. Again, this is so simple. I just don't understand why. One more, and then I'll get off.
Should we keep NAFTA or should we get rid of NAFTA? What should we do with NAFTA? Keep it, amend it, get rid of it, what?
This is one of the few issues I disagree. I don't disagree profoundly with Trump on this. I think on balance, NAFTA has been a very good thing. It's been a very good thing for California. I think, we have to think about North America, Canada, the United States, and Mexico as a region. When I talked about energy, we're talking about making the entire North American continent the new Middle East of energy production. So it's been good for the three countries, but there are deficiencies in this. And I think what we're going to do with NAFTA is mend it, not end it. I hope we don't end it because I think it would be a bad thing. Look, this is Ronald Reagan's vision of making the North American continent a free trade zone. But I want to say something. This is the last thing I'll say, and I'll get off. You know what I'm really concerned about? And you heard from Steve. How many of you heard Steve Bannon last night? Most of you were here. Steve Bannon's a superstar. I love Steve Bannon. And he is, but I don't always agree with Steve, but I do agree with him on this. We are in an economic war against China. Right? They are not playing by the rules.
No.
They steal our technologies. They steal our Silicon Valley technologies, computer software, our drugs, our vaccines. What more and more we produce in America as Americans is intellectual property, copyrights, patents, those kinds of things. They can't steal these things, right? And I don't think Trump can be strong enough with China to say, number one, stop stealing. We lose $80 to $100 billion a year from China, just from Chinese manufacturers and Chinese companies stealing our stuff. Wow. That can't continue. But I'm going to make another point. There's only one country that can stop what's happening in North Korea right now, right? There's only one country, and that's China. China has been an enabler of what is happening in North Korea. We have the biggest lunatic on the planet with a nuclear weapon. By the way, have you noticed how liberals I go on CNN and the liberals say, we should just let them have a nuclear bomb. It's like, I thought you people were the left wants nobody to have a nuclear bomb except the left-wing crazies who are trying to blow us up. But I believe, if I were Donald Trump, I would say to the Chinese leaders, we are not trading with you until you shut down the nuclear
Exactly.
There you go. Because that cannot continue. We cannot live with that. We're going to see a peaceful and prosperous and enlightened America if we pass the Donald Trump agenda. And as I said, people say, gee, do you think that the tax cut is going to work? I said, well, it worked pretty well for Ronald Reagan. I mean, actually, in 1984, he only won 49 states when he ran for re-election. Donald Trump is going to win. You heard first right here. If he passes this tax cut, 40. And we get Obamacare repealed, by the way, which is the single worst law ever passed by Congress.
Yep.
If we do those two things, Donald Trump is going to win re-election with 40 states, a massive blowout of the liberals. Thank you very much. Great to be with you.
All right. Really quickly, folks. So I just want you to know, I thought that was a really interesting question. And I think NAFTA does need to be scrapped. I think that there needs to be a reassertion of national sovereignty, but it's important to have free trade. NAFTA isn't giving us free trade. So guys, I need to get back in the habit of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I do need your donations for me to help me to keep doing what I'm doing. I have my PayPal account. I just put the information there. So I'm going to type it one more time. Please make sure to donate to help me to keep doing what I'm doing. My PayPal account is my email, arthurshopper@hotmail.com. I'm going to just type that really quick.
Now, it's an honor to have the first recipient, Stephen Lord, just kind of an economic rock star. So, by the way, how many of you have started mortgages in the early 80s? My first rate was 13.78, and I was happy because they bought it down 3 points to 10%, 10.78 for 3 years.
Yes, I really need your help financially. My car is in trouble too. All the vehicles and resources I need. So I really need your help, guys, to make this happen. Thank you so much. I'm going to end this video and I will start another one in about 2 minutes. Thank you so much. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's up, Kyle? Really quick.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, check it out. All right. Just stay away from the metal sticks.
See what's up? Everybody, Arthur Shopper.
Right here. What's going on, folks?
Dude, I wanted to ask the guy what his opinion would be on abolishing the Federal Reserve, the private banking cartel.
Yeah.
And I got back in here too late. I wasn't able to ask him, but that was going to be my question.
What do you think of his NAFTA answer?
Normie, neocon.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
It's Heritage Foundation, bro. They're not.
I'm all for freedom, but we don't have a free trade when you've got Mexico can break the rules, but we have to play by them.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. All right, folks, give me a few minutes. I'll be back.